Während hier umgebaut wird, darf ich meinen Co-Moderator und unseren wissenschaftlichen Berater Mathieu Wellner ankündigen, der dankenswerterweise das Panel in Kooperation auch mit dem Europäischen Bauhaus moderieren wird. Mathieu, du kannst gerne hier schon zu uns nach vorne kommen, während umgebaut wird. Und ja, wir haben ja diese wunderbare Partnerschaft und dieses Panel ist jetzt explizit auch nochmal gemeinsam mit Brüssel konzipiert und gibt weitere Einblick in die tolle Arbeit unserer europäischen Nachbarinnen und Nachbarn. Mathieu, viel Spaß.
So, vielen Dank, Sven. Thank you very much. We continue in English because the panelists are not all speaking German. So, like Sven said, I'm Mathieu Wellner. I was consulting the curators for this exhibition with Angela Kesselring and Martina Finneder. And consulting is talking. Consulting is discussing with a coffee and a croissant, and talking is not doing. And so the people who really did the exhibitions are, of course, Eva Kraus, Sven, also Susanne, and all the team from Bundeskunsthalle. And this is also kind of the idea of this panel, that this panel won't be like the last 2 days or like yesterday in the opening about talking. It's about doing, not about the prototype so much, but about the kind of the professional reality of architecture and urban design. Like Sven said, this roundtable had been curated by the European Commission, so they chose the people for the podium and the title, and so that means also that all these people who will discuss with me and you are in a relationship to the new European Bauhaus. And this new European Bauhaus is something that Ruth was talking about yesterday. It was a kind of interesting and very important initiative starting from the Commission by Ursula von der Leyen and her team. And I mean, everything had been said already about this, but not from everyone, to quote Valentin. But the important thing here is that talking is not doing. And so here come people who do things, and who are people who take risks, who facilitate things to be constructed, to happen, and of course we have to rethink our cities, and we really have to admit there are no simple and quick solutions. Maybe there is not a huge single Green Deal, but maybe there are many small Green Deals, and maybe we have to negotiate sustainability in all projects one by one. And this is why, for a very short introduction, I would actually bring you a bit in the world of architecture and urban design, where we have to deal with sustainability, and how sustainability, which is a huge word, just also changed a bit in the last, for me, 30 years. 30 years ago, we spoke about the 3 columns of sustainability: ecology, economy, and social, and let's say maybe the 4th is culture. And then with the EU taxonomy, and in a way with Ursula von der Leyen and the ESG criteria, there were 3 sustainabilities. It was the environment, it was the social, and there was the governance. So also the companies had a kind of responsibility there. And then came 4 years ago the new European Bauhaus. And here again another definition of what is sustainability, with of course environment, that's of course thing, but also beauty, aesthetics, and inclusion. And so this leitmotif of the Green Deal, being climate neutral, clean, green, had gotten sustainability goals, SDGs, and 17. So in a way, if you deal and if you work, in your work, if you try to be sustainable, you have to deal with so many things. And sometimes you always have to negotiate them, because one thing always influences the other thing. And architecture is more than a technical act. Architecture is a collaboration. Architecture is a kind of including many, many different disciplines. And this value chain starts with let's say a strategy, and then it's a development, then it's a planning process, participation, permission, norms, laws, construction, and then you have to run it and maintain it. So at many, many moments you can actually make it, wrong. And so this is everything we will also a bit talk about. And then there's also what also Lütke said in the very first statement, we have these different scales. Yeah? I mean, talking about sustainability, we have the micro scale, which is the material, then the meso scale, which is the city, and then the macro, which is the planetary scale. And so you see, it's a very, very complex thing to talk about. And we were having here, and I was a great listener to fantastic, almost philosophical standpoints. But here talking now, going back into the profession, it's interesting to see that there's no simple and quick solution. And wood is not the solution for concrete. And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But it's very interesting to talk with people about it, to do things. So we have 4 speakers. Each of them will make a short statement, 5-10 minutes, and after that we're going to sit here and discuss it, and we will finish it on time, don't worry, and at 12:45 we will finish even before, if you want, no problem. We can discuss at lunch. But I will introduce each of those speakers first. First speaker is Ruth Schagemann. Ruth Schagemann is an architect who studied in Stuttgart and Braunschweig. In 2006, she founded an office, vice versa, with her husband, also an architect, of course. And she's today a president. She's president of the ACE, the Architects Council Europe, and together with 8 collaborators, she's working in Brussels in trying to support this discipline. She's also managing director in Brussels for the Bundesarchitektenkammer and in many juries and committees, super famous. But it's really interesting that she is really starting with her initiative to support many things. Also one initiative which is in the exhibition called House Europe, and she's probably talk about it. And we can really be glad to have her here. Herzlich willkommen, Ruth Schagemann.
Dear Mathieu, thank you very much for this very kind introduction. And obviously, when I founded my office together with my husband, there was not the idea in my head to become a president. But okay, it happened. So here I'm really, dear ladies and gentlemen, really honored to speak today to you and with you, not only as a president of the Architects Council of Europe, but as a European citizen. We gather here at a moment of great responsibility, not just for architects, not just for planners or policymakers, but for everyone who calls this continent home. Because how we design our homes, our cities, our shared spaces, that is not just a technical question. It's a cultural and societal choice. We just saw great examples, like Göteborg. It's about what kind of Europe we want to live in, and what kind of Europe do we want to leave behind. And now I want to begin with something almost very simple. Every one of us makes design choices and decisions. You design, you not only design, but you decide how you renovate your house. You decide whether to preserve a tree in your garden. You decide whether to support public transport or whether to cover the land with concrete and cars, or being part of a co-design process. But here's the thing. When you build or renovate a house, you are not just shaping your private life, you are shaping the street, the neighborhood, the climate, the culture. A bad book you can put back into the cupboard. A bad house, that's something your neighbors, your children, have to live with for decades. And that's why architecture and urban planning is not just a service, it's about a public good. It's not just about beauty, it's about responsibility. And that responsibility, dear ladies and gentlemen, doesn't only fall to the architects or planners alone. It falls on citizens, on communities, on decision makers, on all of us. Because architecture and urban planning is the stage where our lives unfold. And if we care about sustainable living, if we care about community, inclusion, dignity, and the future of our planet, then we must care about the spaces we live in. We must design change. Now, I know this can really sound overwhelming, but here's what gives me hope. Across Europe, and today we are part of it, we see new energy, a new spirit of cooperation, a new belief that the future can be designed, and designed better. We see people biking instead of driving, choosing renovation over demolition, choosing to protect bees, gardens, history, heritage, instead of giving in to the short-term logic of profit and sprawl. We see cities reclaiming space for people, not just for cars, schools opening their yards to the community, public buildings setting new standards for sustainability and beauty. And we see architects and planners alongside with citizens, leading this change. And that, dear ladies and gentlemen, is what the Architects' Council of Europe stands for. Not just professional excellence, but civic purpose. Not just building for today, but designing for tomorrow. These panels today bring voices from across Europe, Bulgaria, Belgium, Germany, and beyond. We don't all speak the same language, but we share the same goal: to shape a sustainable, inclusive, and resilient Europe. Let's make one thing clear. The decisions we make today in our planning offices, in our councils, and in our living rooms will echo for generations. So let us be bold. Let us imagine more. Let us demand quality, not just in materials, but in meaning. And let us remember every wall we build, every street we shape, every space we open up is a chance to bring people together, to build trust, to design a future we can believe in. We are here to design change and let it make count. So thank you very much for having me here, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion in the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Next speaker is Svetlana Kirova from Bulgaria. Svetlana studied European studies, European foreign policy, was trained as a project manager, cultural management, civic education, so many, many things. She works for the Collective Foundation, a placemaking organization who won the NEB, the New European Bauhaus Prize, twice, in 2023 and 2024. It's about revitalizing the neglected public spaces and the role of art in urban transformation. This kind of very theoretical or artistic idea has been realized and managed by experts like Svetlana, because even though she's not designing the things, someone has to finance it, someone has to take care of it, and I'm very curious to hear more about it. Welcome, Svetlana Kirova.
Hello, it's a huge privilege to be here. I need to look at my presentation. Indeed, I represent the Collective, which is, I would say, quite a young organization comprised of a multidisciplinary team. It consists of architects, landscape architects, designers, event managers, and we all work together on the ground in Bulgaria to instigate some tangible, some real change for the local people there. And the curious thing, the specific about our work is that we do that by temporary constructions. Our architectural constructions are not permanent. After our events, there is almost no trace left. But I would argue and I would try to highlight that we do have this vision to have a sustainable transformation in the end, and I will give you a few examples. What happened so far? This is my home city, the city of Ruth, where the festival Rivers of the City took place. The focus of our organization is urban rivers. We take, and you see here the contrast, before the intervention of the Collective and afterwards. We take these neglected, forgotten, and ugly, to be honest, spaces, and we transform them for a couple of days to show the citizens how things can work differently. And of course, to encourage their connection to this huge natural resource that we have, the rivers, in this case, the Danube River, but also to create a sense of community, which is very much in line with the new European Bauhaus. Here there is something specific and something that reinforces our long-term vision. For this particular event, we worked with students from vocational schools, and we encouraged them to come up with designs and then build these designs for our architectural intervention. And it turned out that involving vocational students is something rare. Doesn't happen often, unfortunately, and for that reason we were rewarded our first New European Bauhaus award in 2023. This is the community that gathered. I will go back to where our story started, and it is the city of Sofia, actually. The city is not famous for its rivers. You can see the contrast here. This is an urban river, a full-fledged river, even though in the local slogan it is called a canal. And from that you can understand the relation the city and the citizens have with this space. Our biggest achievement in this space was that we made it accessible to the local people, because as you see, there is a lot of concrete. It is fenced off from them. They don't have any direct access to it. So during our event, this changed. And the people actually came downstairs, came closer to enjoy and appreciate the Perłowska River. The Vodajska, this is the Vodajska. I'm sorry, I'm not from Sofia. But this, the vocation of our festival changed the next year to more wilder space, less urbanized territory. Here the contrast is also visible. And the achievement in this case is that we left these benches, we cleared the space, we left the benches, and we created a kind of a pocket park in one of the neighborhoods in Sofia, the first river park. And here I also want to highlight that we do advocacy work on behalf of urban rivers, especially in Sofia. We have produced a documentary entitled Rivers of Sofia. We have cleaned some over 100 sewage overflows in the city. And indeed, we try to cooperate as well as with the local municipalities and with grassroots organizations for the causes of urban rivers. The event repeats. It takes place every year since then. It becomes more popular. And in short, I think I didn't mention, it's a festival with the duration of 3 days and over 100 events. Now I want to bring your attention to another city in Bulgaria. I will walk you a bit through the geography of Bulgaria. This is a city with less than 100,000 inhabitants, Gabrovo, and here we were actually invited. We went there and organized the festival at the invitation of the local mayor, which was not the case in the previous instances where the initiative came from us. And our vision, our ambition is that we actually leave all these festivals, all these events for the locals, for them to take care and organize them. In the city of Veliko Trnovo, which is a former capital of Bulgaria, we cooperate with a cultural organization. And there you can see at the background some posters, because another innovation that we are introducing in our events is integrating public art and the power of public art in our events. We are running at this very moment an open poster competition on the topic Rivers of the Past, encouraging artists to think about this long-standing relationship between manhood and rivers. You know that all cities were actually established on rivers. Now I will skip that, and I would like to introduce you to the project that also received a new European Bauhaus award in 2024. This is actually the rooftop of a business park in Sofia, which was a quite unwelcoming, empty space, and my colleagues designed it, turned it into a community, cultural oasis, and it's functioning until today. There are some free access events taking place there. I forgot to mention that all our festivals are with free access. This is really important for us. And to look into the future. In 2026, we are preparing to enter Sofia's largest residential neighborhood. The name is Lulin, with over 100,000 inhabitants. It's larger than many cities, and it's a bit rough, socialist style panel buildings, Plattenbau in German, but there we aim to reimagine a key public space as a prototype for neighborhood scale transformation. I will conclude again with a summary about the things that we care about, nature at the example of urban rivers in whole Bulgaria. The urban spaces often neglected, especially in the peripheral neighborhoods. And of course, culture as a medium, as a tool for bringing people together, but also making them engage and care about the above to the previous two components, the nature and the urban space. And finally, I would like to extend an invitation to all of you to come to Bulgaria. Our festivals take place between August and September, so come and see us in action. It's much more exciting than this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. The next speaker is Andreea Alexandra Nacu from Romania. Andreea joined Housing Europe in Brussels in 2021. Her activities are more or less related to the different European projects of Housing Europe and the Horizon 2020 program. She's an expert in communication, and her previous jobs in NGOs gave her some insight in the challenges of this sector. So what is Housing Europe? Since 1988, Housing Europe has been campaigning for public, cooperative and social housing sector. It's including over 40 federations in over 30 countries. We are glad that she just came back from an award ceremony in Ireland. Welcome in Bonn. Welcome, Andreea Nacu.
Hello, everyone. As Mathieu said, I'm a communication officer, so while studying, I wasn't even fathoming working in this sector, but that's the wonder of Brussels. You get there and then you discover a lot of things. So a bit by choice, because I did want to get involved into everything that's sustainability and it's meaningful, I got to work for Housing Europe. So yes, here are a few numbers. We represent many people from many countries all over Europe. And we try to, while we do not build the houses ourselves, we try our best to make their voices heard in Brussels. So we are trying to advocate for the added value of social investment. So it's an investment, it's not an expense. It brings so many benefits and down the line improves quality and actually, yeah, can, someone that's happy living in good conditions won't go to the doctor every other week. And our mission is already, I would say, shaped by the NEB principles, even before it was a thing. We want to make sustainability access for everyone, because yeah, not having, not using too many resources, living in energy poverty, using improvised solutions should not be reserved only for privileged people. This then goes to, we want to make everyone more resilient and yeah, do a lot advance climate adaptation because everyone needs to be comfortable at home. And through the projects we are involved in, and then of course the activity of our members, we do want to consider the impact of a building, of a house, of a home, all throughout its cycle, from the beginning, the design phase, and then later on how the inhabitants make good use of it. Of course, we want to make it beautiful because, yeah, that impacts us very positively, and we have plenty of examples that use, for example, art-based programs to build the communities, and also, yeah, include art in public spaces. For us, inclusiveness, it's already a default value, so to say, because we are already thinking about the most vulnerable. So we took it in the sense of we want to work better together, involved all stakeholders from the lowest authority level to the national one. So, as Mathieu said, this week we had the International Social Housing Festival that took place in Dublin. It's called a festival because we want to, even though we know in countries, especially in countries such as Ireland, housing is a very acute issue, but and we don't want to minimize that, but we do want to bring forward solutions that work and to keep the motivation up. And this is why Housing Europe co-organizes the European Responsible Housing Awards, which is a call open for everyone around Europe that is in some capacity a non-for-profit housing provider. And I've selected 3 that, they all fit one way or into another into the NEB project, but these were a bit more holistic. So here we have a social housing project from Pamplona, Spain. They have sustainable construction. They offer an inclusive approach, so they address more vulnerable groups, but not only. Collaboration, it's also at the basis, and they also offer, for example, training for residents, because it's very important to have the renovations to make it energy efficient, but if we don't know how to use it, if we don't appreciate it, the results are not so good in the end. And through digital tools, yeah, they bring the innovation side forward and into the daily lives of the residents. Another case is from the Netherlands. So this is more based on circularity. They reused materials, used bio-based ones, and even the system to reuse waste water. It's very innovative because it brought the net zero energy standards. And on top of that, the jury was happy to see that the community was very much involved, including into designing the public spaces. And the third one is from Vienna. I will not try to butcher the name. And this is more on the intergenerational living and inclusivity in communities. It's a very adaptable model, so depending on the type of family, the needs of the residents, and so on. It is, of course, affordable, which can be a bit of a debatable notion depending how we word it. but addressed so that everyone can live comfortably. It's also sustainable because they put a lot of effort into the greenery surrounding the buildings. They also made small gardens on top of the buildings and so on. And once again, digitalization helps into building the participatory approach. So we had a lot of projects, more than 82, so the jury had a very hard job. And why we were proud of this is because the jury was were representative of the tenants associations around Europe. So no one could say that, okay, it's the landlord that says, okay, this is a great thing. It's also the tenants that confirmed we are trying to do a good job. We have 5 categories, each with different focus. And 25 shortlisted projects came from 12 countries. So as soon as I get back to my office, this will be also available online. So I invite you to look it up, because it's a precious resource that we reuse it years and years after. We still use the cases from the previous edition 3 years ago. And yes, we also are involved in quite a few European-funded projects, because we do want to keep up against the odds of saying, like, oh, it's just social public housing, they just want to keep things as they were. No, we want to prove that sometimes we have higher standards than those who just want to make profit. Here I selected 3 projects that either answered to a call that was related to the new European Bauhaus, or anyway, so they specifically replied to the 3 principles. So the first one is DROP, and it's about urban regeneration, and not just renovation. The aim is also to develop the local economic development, and all this through culture. And what you see in the tiny image is a mural that has been was about to be redesigned together with the residents. Secondly, we have Skea that has just ended. So the first one was this is a neighborhood from Erma in the Basque Country, close to Bilbao. Skea had 4 demos in Austria, the Netherlands, Norway, and Spain. So it's about sustainable plus energy neighborhoods, where sustainable doesn't necessarily only mean environmental, but also social. So they took into account energy, integrated energy design, and community was central. Everything, as much as possible, was done with the residents or tenants. And lastly, we have ARV, which means in Norwegian heritage. This is the Danish demo, and it's focused on circularity and climate positive communities. And so while on one hand, we are busy with picking up these amazing examples, we try to use them to inspire our members and to explain to the EU institutions why having adequate policy is essential. So we have created a compass, which is based on a report, Housing 2030, produced together with the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe and United Nations Habitat. And it goes through, there are 4 main areas of different level of policy, because there is money, and if there is a willingness, that can be used for good reasons. So this was my initial presentation. If you want to find more about us, feel free to have a look on our website, subscribe to our newsletter, and happy to answer to any questions later. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Andreea. The next and last speaker of this inputs, and after Martin has spoken, we still have half an hour for discussion. So the next speaker is Martin Skea. Martin is the founder and CEO of the company Together Homes. His company focuses on delivering affordable and sustainable housing using modern construction methods and techniques. The idea is to help cities, to help non-profits, to help developers in providing better housing solutions, more sustainable housing solutions, to be quicker and community-driven. Martin has a background in finance services and in urban planning, and Together Homes offer practical, repeatable systems. It's very interesting to see here an entrepreneurial approach to this thing. Please welcome Martin Skea.
Guten Morgen. I'm glad to be here. My name is Martin Skea. Thank you for the introduction. Before I get started with the slides, green would be forward, I guess. I want to say a little bit about the company I started a few years ago. I did a program at a university in the US focused on real estate development, and in learning about that process, I started my career in urban planning. I learned an awful lot about the crisis in housing affordability, and that was 5 years ago. So since then, I focused on what could be done to help change an industry that hasn't changed very much in 100 years. As a result, our little company, startup that's a B corporation or a public benefit corporation focused on making impact across E, S, and G. We have been honored by the new European Bauhaus to be part of their accelerator program called Catalyze. We were part of that program last year. I just spoke to the new cohort earlier this week in Leuven, Belgium. We are in competition for the 2025 New European Bauhaus Awards. And at this moment, we are one of 3 companies represented by the New European Bauhaus at the Osaka World Expo as new approaches for housing across Europe and elsewhere. I started the company to focus on affordability, sustainability, and creating communities. The idea is to accelerate change in the home building industry and provide affordable housing for everyone. That used to say revolutionize, but that irritated a lot of people, so it just says accelerate now. So you see we're represented by, or we're supported by the New European Bauhaus. We're also a member of Ville de Demain in Paris, an accelerator at Station F, where we have connections into the French market, and we are in the process of being a certified B Corporation. So I started the company because there's an industry, if you think about those of you with your phones taking pictures right now, what's transformed in our lives digitally, the entire digital revolution. There's now an AI revolution underway, and there's an industry that hasn't actually adapted to any of that. So things need to change, and there are new industrialized construction methods. There's new technology that needs to be adapted. There needs to be change. That's what we're hoping to achieve. Also, an industry that contributes, as you may have heard 100 times, 40% of global CO2 emissions is the construction and real estate or built environment. Issues associated with that lack of productivity and many others have reduced the amount of investment in housing. And I think here in Germany, there's a target of 400,000 homes, and the government has yet to achieve that in many years and doesn't look to be ready to achieve that again this year. And that's driving up home prices for young people, for families, and creating a crisis in development for young children, that they don't have a place to live, grow up in an adequate home, and develop successfully. The numbers here you see are just what's been stated by each of these countries, which is needed each year for the next 10 years. and it's an opportunity for impact. That's what my team and I are focused on. I mentioned Germany's home building. This is since 1970. You see that ever-building gap. People in this room can be part of this solution and finding ways to make that happen. Yes, land is an issue. We'll talk about that in a second. And planning permissions are an issue. But there's a whole bunch more that we can change and do differently. So our team's spoken with social housing agencies, municipal building departments, AGSLs, you name it, across Belgium, in Ireland, housing associations, also with municipalities here in Germany, in Baden-Württemberg. And they've told us the key pain points that they experience. We can help with those circled. I can't do anything about land costs. But there is the idea of community land trusts, which is something that needs to be accelerated. I had the opportunity when because I'm based in Brussels maybe, when the European Commission announced the Housing Task Force last year, I kept a close eye on when they were announcing who the leader of that would be. His name is Mathieu Baldwin. I reached out to Mathieu Baldwin the day after his name was announced, and I had coffee with him the following week and talked to him about issues that I thought, as a small business owner, as a startup entrepreneur, he needed to be thinking about. One of those was about creating community land trusts across Europe and helping to facilitate that process, whether it's through funding, whether it's through policy or otherwise, so that what is affordable today and built as affordable today remains affordable in perpetuity. That's the land cost issue. So my team and I developed repeatable, scalable, two-dimensional panel, timber-based design, multiple typologies to be historically contextual with a European village. I'll show you those in a minute. We also created contractual agreements or construction teams or Bau teams to have the team ready to deploy those and build those, both assembly and general contractors. And we're in the process. We have an application in for a grant through the European Innovation Technology Group for a climate tech fund to get some money and build out a digital platform to enable this even further. So our flexible design library, which we're building out, what you see here is what we did for the Belgian market. And we have now alignment about 50% with Dutch housing, social housing and fire requirements. We have more work to do there with our architect based in Amsterdam. And these are about 85%, we're told by a German architect in North Rhine-Westphalia, that they're about 85% aligned with German, or at least Western German states' social housing code and fire. But it's row houses, it's about low-rise, high-density, creating those same communities that we like to visit, that people from around the world come to visit. We're building too many rectangular boxes that are turning what those towns are that we love into monotonous, well, whether it's pani lots or otherwise. What we do reduces the time to market by 30 or more % and reduces CO2 emissions by more than 40%. We also have the opportunity to reduce labor, which is a challenge in many markets because you're building things off-site and assembling them on-site much more rapidly. One of our homes can go up in 3 days and be finished within 12 days. Once you have your lands improved, etc. This is what a community would look like, with focus on bringing people together. The ground floor of our row house, which is normally a one bedroom on the ground floor, designed for those who are disabled or those who are elderly, would be built with a 2-bedroom or a 2-bedroom on top, or 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom on top, but creating connectivity in the community between different ages as well as different incomes. We have additional designs where we have rainwater capture built in as we recommend. We're not the developer and we're not the municipality, so we get to recommend and suggest, but we bring the pricing, the manufacturers, the team to be able to deliver, and the designs. I like this one a lot. So we ask all of you to think about what you're doing to impact these UN sustainability goals and join us. Maybe you have a piece of land for a project. We're happy to talk to you about that and happy to have a further discussion with the group. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Martin. Just go. Ruth here. Maybe you go on the third one. Okay, thank you very much, Martin, for this introduction, and also people heard you maybe and have a piece of land. But before starting, a general question to everyone. Of course, I, as an architect also myself, I have to, of course, react to the project, and you can be sure that the architects in the room, of course, would be highly skeptical on a project focusing only on quantity. We had that in the 70s, and not on quality, you know that, and I think you explained it, why you do it. And so my question would be, how do you react to this? And what made you come to Brussels?
Okay, I'll start with what made me come to Brussels. When I did this program I mentioned at the university, I had expected, I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. I hold an Irish passport, which makes it okay for me to live here, but I was living in Washington, and I expected that my spouse and I would move to Los Angeles, which is where his company is headquartered. And then one day, so everything I did in this program was focused about building social and affordable housing in Los Angeles. I had the homeless agency, I had the Office of Diversion and Reentry ready, working with me on designs, and then my husband said, how about Brussels? I said, I haven't been there since 1987 for 2 hours between trains, so maybe we should check it out. And now we've been here 5 years. So that's how I'm in Brussels. And I will tell you that it's not as easy to start a business in Brussels as it is to start a business in Los Angeles. So I've learned a lot. But I ask everyone this idea of, I wanted to have a slide, and I couldn't get Midjourney to help me really develop the slide well enough. But when you buy a car is a really technical something. Or if a big company buys a plane, they don't get to start and say, I'm going to have a wall this thick, I'm going to actually build the floors this deep. The rooms are going to be exactly this size. You get a plane, or you get a car, and you decide what color it's going to be. And you decide whether or not you're going to have velour or leather inside. The fact that we continue to think of homes as these individualized, designed experiences is lovely and should influence what we did in our designs. But I believe it inhibits our ability to do things at scale and to address the magnitude of the problem we have at our hands. So how do we shift? There's people who have the money and the desire to do those individualized things, but there's far too many times that we have planners in a municipality saying, we just need to tweak that a little bit more. The answer is no. Let's just align. Because if you drive in any Flemish village, or maybe any village nearby here, many of the houses look exactly the same, especially if they're row houses. Maybe there's a different color, maybe there's a different facade, maybe there's something. But the reality is, people go to Irish villages because they look like beautiful, consistent Irish villages. People go to across Europe because they look beautiful. We try to align with that, but do it in a way that's fast, efficient, and beautiful.
So in fact, you create a kind of infrastructure at first, and then it's a kind of serial repetition of different catalog of different structures. And of course, you mentioned, I think it was Olaf Scholz promising 400,000 apartments every year, and it hasn't been reached even 200,000, or I stopped counting. And so the thing is, if we change nothing, nothing changes. So of course it's always very interesting to see this. also in terms of decision. And so I want to actually ask Ruth immediately, because first, I mean, she's an architect, and of course she has an opinion about that and about how the discipline should embrace or reject these things and how to handle with it. But the other thing, which is even more important, is that in your role as a president of the Architecture Council of Europe, how many architects are in the European Parliament? I mean, how many are you talking with how many architects? Because there are probably a few lawyers, a few teachers, I don't know, a few dentists, but how many architects are you dealing with?
One.
Oh.
So we have over 700 parliamentarians in the European Parliament, and one of them is an architect. As it's only one, I know him personally. It's Marcos Rossempere from Spain. And he's not only an architect, he's also an urban planner. So it really means that and that's the lucky thing that we have, he for us is really the precious one in in all that discussions, because we don't have to start at the beginning. You know, we don't have to explain him what does architecture mean, what does urban planning mean, and especially the European policymakers, they decide on legislation that at the end makes the difference either in the offices or architects and planner offices, or makes the difference for the people that live in Europe, so us as citizens. And it was mentioned today, architecture and urban planning is quite complex. It's a beautiful, I love the study, so it's a really holistic approach on design. And on the other hand, we have legislation, which is a legal, it's really about legal approaches. So very factually, you have to imagine these people are sitting there with 100,000 pages of documents deciding on what our inspired living space is in Europe, and what it means culturally, and what it means on the societal level. And I think that's the big challenge that we have in decision-making processes in Europe, to explain the narrative about architecture and urban planning. And therefore, I'm extremely thankful for Ursula von der Leyen with her idea, not only on the Green Deal, because it made a real paradigm shift, but she was searching for a narrative to support the Green Deal, so that we understand together what does it mean. And the new European Bauhaus was there really interesting opportunity to rediscuss our living space. We speak about not quality in an abstract way, really about beauty, about sustainability and inclusiveness. And that made a big change, let's say, at least in the political realm. How far it then goes beyond that is another question. But let's say for policymakers, and you are part of the new European Bauhaus, and we can discuss if architecture is a car. We can. I think it's an own topic. But nevertheless, the European Commission is interested in these different aspects, and therefore for me also House Europe, and you mentioned it, Mathieu, at the beginning, is part of this of this exhibition. And I mentioned it in my speech. We as European citizens, well, we have a voice because we vote for the European Parliament, we vote for our ministries, but on European level we also have the opportunity to decide in citizens' initiatives. And that really means giving us as European citizens a voice, independent if there's one architect in the European Parliament or 700. So that's really an opportunity for us to make a change, and I would like to highlight, you mentioned it briefly, but I would really highlight you to look at that space, at that initiative here in this house, because it's really an important part of our decision-making process on European level, and we need a lot of signatures. It's about signing,
1 million.
It's about 1 million, and I think we are 20,000, 40,000, so still a lot to go.
Starting.
And so it's not about architects, it's really about us as citizens.
Yes, I think it's, if you go into the exhibition, turn left and sign, and then you can see all the rest. And it's a great exhibition, and it's really fun. It's incredible. And it shows many, many projects, realized projects, materials, different scales. And it shows things that had been done, but still architecture is very local. It's important to have things like New European Bauhaus. I mean, even though I was not a fan of the title, but it's okay. It's okay. It's good. It makes things happen. And yes, you said you kind of take this and have Marcos from Spain, the architect in the parliament, and push this. And maybe a question to Svetlana and to Andreea, and Martin, of course, too, because you are kind of. You were jumping on the bandwagon. You were kind of using this new European Bauhaus idea. You for getting prizes and known, and you because you're kind of also negotiating with them because you support many institutions. And Martin is in Osaka. Thank you for being here. For Ursula von der Leyen. So each of you maybe shortly, what had these 4 years of new European Bauhaus, how had it helped you in your journey, because it's your work, huh? It's not your hobby. How did it help you for maybe Svetlana Kirova first?
I would like first to clarify that the new European Bauhaus and our organization were born almost in the same year, in 2020. So these ideas about beautiful, sustainable together, they seem to circulate and exist throughout the world separately, in Bulgaria, in Brussels, and in our case, because the organization was founded by a landscape architect that has studied in England and returned to Bulgaria. So you see how ideas influence one another independently. And we were just lucky by the fact that the Bauhaus became such a big topic in Brussels, for our efforts to be recognized and to receive this important label, of course, the Bauhaus label.
But even before the Bauhaus label, this is maybe the slides you haven't shown because you had so many. You were a little bit showing me when we talked who is actually supporting your initiatives, because the interesting thing with your organization or office is that sometimes you self-initiate something and then ask for money in a kind of informal way. But then at the end, you are there for making it happen, to find people, companies to subsidize it, to finance it. And I saw on the list MasterCard, DM, I don't know, huge companies. And so why are they helping you? What is of course they're great, but what's the main point why they say, okay, we support that?
No, before me, I want to, again, to say that straight. I'm a specialist in EU funding. But there is a thing, before reaching the EU funding, you should have other sources, especially when you are a not-for-profit organization. In Bulgaria, these organizations don't receive zero support from the state. So you really have to start fundraising from the first euro. And this was the convincing power of my colleagues that approached some big companies. First, because they have, to say it straight, they are more flexible in funding. They can decide from today to tomorrow that they are going to support an initiative. And this is how it started. Afterwards came the partnerships, the European projects, working with programs such as Interreg, Creative Europe, and so on. But I think the most important fact is that they indeed see a purpose, they see a transformation happening because of our events, and they support us every year, the private sponsors.
And you are kind of supported by like more than 40 institutions in many countries, and every country has always different kind of, let's say, political trends, to make it very simple. And but how is your organization not a lobby? I mean, you are in Brussels next to the Commission, and then you try to influence the legislation. Why didn't you just say, I'm a lobbyist?
So I also started my study in translations. So how I like to explain this to my friends and family from back home. Technically, yes, the definition of a lobbyist is you try to convince someone of something, but we try to do it for a good cause. So in Brussels, this is called advocacy. We try to implement for change, but change that benefits everyone, not just our members.
Okay, so you're on the good side of the power. And you were just showing 3 projects from this affordable housing prize you are also doing. You have this compass and you have this prize, and then of course this who's winning is influencing your kind of institution, who support you and who spread in a way good examples. So my question would be, because sometimes sustainable and affordable are not possible at the same time. Unfortunately, this is politically also a kind of not a nice game to make it either or. Yeah, you can have a social, but then it's not sustainable, or the other way around. And this shouldn't be the case. Huh? But still, it's reality, because we don't have much, not huge budgets anymore. And so, do you on purpose maybe try to find, I don't know, the 3 examples you showed, projects who both could make it? Because I saw that in kind of density, the projects you were showing, they were kind of dense. So this may be a kind of way to be as well affordable, to have a low price for rent, and to be sustainable, green. Is this maybe the clue? You saw many projects the last days.
Yes, so of course, first of all, for us, it's not always easy to reconcile all the needs and positions of all our members. We make it short when we say social, public, and cooperatives, because you have cooperatives in Sweden that are not the same as cooperatives in Barcelona. It depends a lot on the infrastructure of the place. Of course, now also in Barcelona you have a huge density. In Netherlands it's so hard to find an empty piece of land. But we also advocate a lot to reuse. So we have all these huge, maybe, after COVID, office buildings that are not used as much as they were before. All these factories that out of order, so why waste them when they can be repurposed? But it depends. You can include community, you can include space, room to breathe, even in those compact communities. For example, one of the demos of the Skea project, it's in one of the densest neighborhoods around Barcelona. And the new building was designed in such a way that you have a sort of atrium, you have balconies, and when we visited after people came to live there, you saw some that were still like out. You could see everything that they had there. They could just come out the door and say, hey, how are you doing? You saw some that put something like a curtain, and like, okay, maybe not not today. But as long as people have a say, I think that there can be a middle ground. And it's true, it's hard to convince people to give the money, but we are still hopeful. For example, for the awards, we had Marcos Rosempe as a member of the jury, so he was hands-on on all these projects. We had the European Investment Bank and Council of Europe Development Bank that were sponsors, so regardless of positions that were stated, they do want to support this kind of projects. And yeah, we see now that models like Airbnb are a bit...
No, but it's interesting because you, maybe in difference to other prizes, where we architects give prizes to other architects who do things we already know, you give prizes to projects to investors and banks are seeing it who actually do it and finance it. And so maybe this window is an interesting
Some projects, also the European project that we are involved in, it's true they are like the prototypes that they were talking about in the previous panel, showing that if there is the right funding, they can be scaled up. Some, they have this funding, they use it only as, oh, we need a bit more to make it possible. But another project, it's a cooperative in Barcelona, so they built everything, a community, and we very proud as Housing Europe, we managed to facilitate the connection with the Council of Europe Development Bank, and this is how they made it, and they didn't have a huge investment fund behind them to ensure the success. So this is tiny example, but it can eventually, grow like mushrooms, hopefully.
Yes, I mean, of course, there's a difference between scale projects or duplicate projects, and architecture is very hard to scale and duplicate because it's always another place, and the adaptation is the issue. But this is maybe technical, so it's really interesting to see that, in fact, you kind of try to show and prize good examples, get information from the kind of housing companies and spread it maybe a little bit more to the architecture and planner side as well. That's my suggestion. And then actually this kind of team effort is then something which will make a change, right? Okay. Martin, of course you already mentioned that you are here and in Osaka with your project, so also your journey together with the new European Bauhaus and Ursula von der Leyen and Ruth Reichstein, maybe you can develop this, because it's really interesting how they support initiatives, and then also because you asked in the room who has a huge plot to test this. When you talk to mayors, and we had their mayors, Angela Kesseling were inviting mayors yesterday, when you talk to mayors, which of the argument is convincing most? Is it that you're quicker, or that you are more sustainable, or what is it that they are kind of, when they're clicking?
Yes. It's that, all of that. It's not one or the other. I mean, here's the reality. The mayors just came out with their policy statement on housing, Mayors for Housing, with a report that can be gotten. I don't know the link, but the idea is, you said the trade-offs, you know, sustainability or affordability. Mm-hmm. I'll use Flanders, for instance, northern Belgium. There's a 7 to 10% increase in subsidy from the government if you're doing something innovative or you're doing something with sustainable materials. And so one of the, I think, challenges is figuring out how many of those subsidies exist and how you can leverage each and every one of them. And it's not something that's the practice per se of architects do fantastic work designing and working with clients and all of those other things, but not necessarily financial engineers. Developers are some financial engineers, so it's really figuring out where all of that money can come from. And suddenly what looked like it might be just over the affordability level is actually within because of those subsidies that come through. We are now in Brussels and Flanders, we're at 94% of the total subsidy amount available is our cost, and we keep working to bring down those costs while still delivering a beautiful, quality home for someone to live in.
Yeah, that's a, I mean, this is the thing to do. I mean, it should be sustainable, it should be social, it should be inclusive, it should be in the center but not too loud, and it should be vivid but not at night. I mean, this is the topic with architecture. Welcome into the housing business, and it's a really interesting struggle, and I promised to finish at 12:45 and I lied. Sorry, it's 12:47, and I'm sorry. I still have like 15 questions for each of you, but I keep my promises, so I try. So maybe you ask them all your questions at lunch, but I still have 3, because I asked all of 3 of them very short questions for very short answers. And the first question was, because we were talking about, and I told them before, so they could think about it before they arrive. The first question, if you talk about sustainability, it's always interesting to know those who do this, what did they personally change in their lives or in their office? So maybe a quick round for the first question. So what you, Ruth, did yourself very sustainable, which you haven't done maybe before. No, before is a large question. What have you changed?
What we have changed, because my husband is in the office, no? And for me personally, with all the discussion that I'm having since now as a president since 2019, it's really rethinking about what does legislation mean in the office. So what did I do personally is to make a change in if everything really has to be replaced. Is everything needed to replace? As the office itself has always been working in the existing building stock, we challenged a new topic, and the topic is expert witness in Germany. And expert witnesses decide on the defect of buildings. And I think this is still a huge opportunity or a chance, let's say, to not waste so much material, because a lot of expert witnesses decide. Just as an example, there's a roof and it has a leak. We take off the whole roof, no? So. Yeah, but why? Yeah. Just repair the leak, you know. And I think this is it's a economic impact, but it has this huge ecological impact. And
patina.
Yes, and patina, obviously. and also, and this then reflects again to the topic of a client, because obviously there is now the building, you invested in your home, you have a nice plot, you invested a lot of money, and then you go through this house together either with the developer or with the architect. Oh, there's a scratch on the glass. This has to be removed. Yeah, okay, technically it has to be removed. But the question is, do we need to remove it? Can we just change maybe the glass a bit so you don't see the scratch immediately? And I believe after, let's say, 2 years of not washing your glass, you will not see the scratch anymore, no? So these are really the decisions that have to be done in the offices, expert witnesses, but also clients. So let's say the changes in the offices are to speak different with a client and to give them the opportunity to rethink what they are doing, because we are collecting glass every day. We are collecting paper every day, but we want this little window to be changed immediately. So I think that's a huge opportunity as a client, but also, for example, as a professional, to discuss it with the people and see what changes can be made. And this is something that really came out of all the discussion that I'm having now since over 6 years in the political realm.
Okay, to relax.
Yes, exactly, relax. We are looking for a perfection that does not exist, and we have so many rules, DIN-norm, etc. It's wonderful to have them, but sometimes we have to. We just saw this example with the glass bottles, no? It's a temporary building. Hey, it's going to be gone. So do we need any Wärmedurchgangskoeffizient calculation? No, we don't need it. But this is a decision to be made. And who takes this decision? It's an administrative decision, or it's a decision of a expert witness, or it's the decision of the architect or of the client. But the decision has to be taken. And sometimes we just have to use our brains a bit more, I believe. So, sorry for that.
This is very good. This is when you ask a president for a short answer.
Sorry.
No, but continue. I mean, I enjoy it. Svetlana, your short answer, or your any, you say whatever you want.
Yeah, I will answer on behalf of the organization that we use sustainably certified timber in our events. You saw that there are many events taking place. So we put an emphasis on that, and I also know that we reuse awards, our designs, we reassemble things so that we use them multiple times and not just once.
Andreea, what have you changed for your office?
Well, we produce a lot of materials, right? Briefings, reports, the amount of things we had to carry to Dublin for the festival, I prefer not to disclose, because people still want to have something there. If you don't see it with all the digital tools, sometimes it's but we do try to minimize the impact as much as possible. So yeah, we do our conscious, does this thing actually need to be printed, or we can just put a QR code instead of a 100 pages report. And if we do choose to print it, like the handbook for the awards, we try to find sustainable alternatives. This is what the Housing Europe team does, and then, of course, our members, we encourage them to get into more projects on circularity and so on.
So, something done. Martin.
For the business, we designed with sustainability in mind. For my team, we have mobility checks. Everybody works remotely, so we don't have an office taking up that space. Everyone works remotely, and we have mobility checks for them to use public transport or their bicycles. And in my community, our neighbors think of me as this kind of green rabble-rouser, because I promote planting of trees on our street. People object to that because it takes away some of their parking, but greening of the little plots around where there are trees, I do that personally. And our commune allows two things. Our commune will install electric chargers for cars, and so within 50 meters of my front door, there are 3 different installed chargers as a result of engaging the commune, and also the commune will cut out a part of your concrete in front of your home so you can plant a vine that can grow up the front of your house, and so we've done that as well.
Beautiful. So, as you see, we skipped the other 2 questions when you will kind of tell them to me, but also to everyone who wants to know it, because you see that, of course, you can work with large-scale housing projects or urban areas, or influence and negotiate with politicians, with a whole discipline, and have ideas, because sustainability, you can make money with sustainability, you just have to do it. And so these are nice initiatives. I hope everyone has also made some small and bigger changes in their life, because we have to do it. Thank you very much for being here on this panel. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mathieu.